Hey, good afternoon to you. It is now 5:07 here in News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. I do have a couple of brief updates here about Governor Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's running mate, the lies he's telling about his military service, and I know I've got some calls coming in on that subject too, so I'd like to take them. The Free Beacon has some excellent coverage today. My buddy, former colleague Chuck Ross, reporting Tim Walz falsely claimed he served in Afghanistan. Now remember, he ducked out of the military just ahead of an Iraq deployment. He apparently also falsely claimed that he served in Afghanistan. When a local veteran called him out, his office did nothing. Chuck Ross says that Democrat vice presidential nominee Tim Walz has described himself as, quote, a veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom, the official name of the U.S. government's war in Afghanistan following the September 11th attacks. But Walz never deployed to the Middle East. And when an Iraq war veteran confronted Walz's aides with evidence of what he called stolen valor, his aides didn't do much to address his concerns. As a first-time congressional candidate in 2006, Walz's campaign announcement described him as, quote, a veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom, end quote. An archived version of the press release reveals that. 2 years earlier, in 2004, Walz organized a protest against then-President George W. Bush in Mankato, Minnesota. A photo of the rally shows Walz carrying a sign reading, Enduring Freedom Veterans for Carry. That was Walz's sign. Now, as far as that confrontation, some veterans went to his office, his congressional office, to confront him about all of this. In fact, here is, let me see here. I do have this audio. Oh, here it is. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So this is the veteran confronting Walz's congressional office. Take a listen to this.
So we're here on a veteran-related issue. I don't know if you are familiar with this picture at all. This was taken in 2004 here in Mankato, and it's actually been posted on the internet for quite some time, and nobody quite realized what it is. But in this picture, Congressman Walz here is holding a sign that says Enduring Freedom Veterans for Care. So tell me what your understanding of his military background is.
Yeah, I understand that he was called up in support of it, obviously, in support of that operation. That's how I've always understood it. And so at the time that he, when he got called up, I guess I've always referred to it as, he was called up.
He went to Italy.
And served in support of Operation Enduring Freedom.
Okay, so is there any question in your mind what Enduring Freedom is?
No.
Okay, so I guess most people, and yourself included, would associate Enduring Freedom with Afghanistan, right?
Right, but okay. I mean, I think it, as I also understand that it encompasses a great deal in there.
Well, Operation Enduring Freedom is limited to Afghanistan and the airspace directly above. There's other units that are called up in support of, and I'm sure that's probably what his military orders said.
Right.
My concern, other than this picture, is that the congressman's website, his official biography, says simply that he was mobilized with his battalion in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Without any other details, don't you think it's reasonable people might assume that means he served in Afghanistan?
Perhaps, I guess.
Okay.
Perhaps, I guess, says the sheepish staffer in the face of direct evidence. He's like, wait, you're completely lying about all of this. Kamala Harris's campaign at this hour has been scrambling to change Tim Walz's bio on their website. Politico's got a report up today that the Harris campaign tweaks Walz's biography amid scrutiny of his military credentials. They report that Kamala Harris's presidential campaign has updated the online biography of her running mate Tim Walz's military service amid Republican efforts to question his record in the Army National Guard. Republican efforts. How about amid concerns about the veracity of his military record? What do you mean Republican efforts? Why is this Republicans' pounce? Why isn't it just Tim Walz lied? On its website, the Harris campaign axed a reference to Walz as a retired command sergeant major and now says that he once served at the command sergeant major rank, a small change that nonetheless reflects his true rank at retirement from the Army National Guard. I'm sorry, that's Politico's reporting. No, it doesn't. It doesn't reflect his true rank. His true rank was Master Sergeant. he was demoted. He was reverted to Master Sergeant, reverted down. Walz, the governor of Minnesota, served for 24 years in the National Guard before retiring in 2005 from the military to run for the U.S. House, where he became the most senior enlisted soldier to serve in Congress, Politico says in its press release for the Kamala Walz campaign. But they do note, of course, that there are changes going on to Kamala Harris's website. Now, this status as a command sergeant major is also at question because he claimed in 2009 that he was. He sent a farewell message in 2009, referred to himself as a command sergeant major.
Hello, everyone. I'm Congressman Tim Walz. It's a real honor to be able to pay tribute to the 34th Red Bull Infantry Division and to your families and friends as you prepare to deploy in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. As a 24-year veteran of the National Guard and the Red Bull Division and a retired Command Sergeant Major, I'm especially proud of you. You are continuing a long and great tradition of service by the citizen soldiers of the 34th, a tradition symbolized by the fact that the 34th served the most consecutive days in combat both in World War II and in Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Man, this Tim Walz guy is getting up to Joe Biden levels of lying, isn't he? And there he was in 2009 bidding farewell to the people who were deploying to Iraq and then lying to them about his rank at retirement. Let me bring in a couple of calls here. I've got Chuck calling in from Bristow now, line 5. Chuck, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. How you doing? Can you hear me?
I hear you great, Chuck.
Perfect. Hey, listen, just truth in lending. I'm a retired 30-year veteran of the Air Force, retired colonel, former fighter pilot, instructor pilot in the Air Force. And the simplest question we need to ask about what his rank was at retirement is, what does his Department of Defense retiree ID card say on it? That will put the end to all the discussion about what his rank is at retirement.
Yeah, we don't even have to, request documents from the government. He can just open up his wallet, pop his ID card out, the one he probably uses to get on bases and not pay taxes on the stuff that he's buying. Let's just show us what it says on that card. Cover up any other personal information you want to, but that seems to be the most important thing, Chuck, isn't it?
That seems to be the most important thing, and one of the easiest things to admit to and the easiest things to prove against.
I guarantee you, though, that if it did say Command Sergeant Major, they would have released it already. It doesn't. You and I both know what that says, Chuck. It is not that.
It says retired E8.
Yeah, retired E8. All right, Chuck, thank you. Smart point. There is an easy documentary way to prove this. It's literally probably in his back pocket. Let's see here. Let us go to Mark in Virginia Beach, who calls in all the time. I love hearing from Mark. Line 1. Mark, good afternoon, sir.
Hi, Vince. I served in the U.S. Army in 1974 to 1980. I served with real Vietnam veterans, people who took fire from the enemy. There's another way to prove whether or not he saw combat, because the Army gives what's called a combat medal. You wear it on your uniform, your dress, or your fatigue, and it's a musket that has oak leaf clusters on either end of the musket. It's if you put it on your dress uniform, it's blue and silver, and it's about 2 inches in length and maybe half inch tall. If it's on your fatigues, it's black. It's what they call OD. So if he's a combat vet, prove it. Show us your combat ribbon, or shut the heck up. Stop stealing valor that is not yours. Never mind all the doggone garbage that's coming out of his mouth. Command Sergeant Major, I've been around my share. I've had E9s in my family, Command Master Chiefs, and I've served under Command Master Sergeant. So he can just shut the heck up. Thank you.
Very appreciative of the call. Mark, thank you very much. Let me take Jennifer in Rockville, line 2. Jennifer, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi, Vince. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
I just wanted to make the distinction because I've never called into a show before, but I listen to you every day on the way home.
Thank you for that.
My pleasure. I love listening to you, and I heard many people call you about this rank and the distinction and the demotion versus no demotion, et cetera.
Right.
And they're just missing the one little key in there. So the way these promotions happen, I'm retired enlisted. I retired as a master sergeant, very proud, because only about 10% of the people in the population make that rank.
Yeah, amazing.
But your records go to a promotion board. Every year they have a promotion board. Every year they make a decision on how many new E9s in this particular career field do we need this year. Mm-hmm. And then they put out a promotion list. And if you've made that list, let's say there's 100 people on the list and your number is 30. You don't get promoted right away. Right? You got to wait until 29 people get promoted before you. However, when it comes to E9, so if there is a reason in the unit and they need a new E9 in the unit, you can be a sergeant major, which is a staff position, or you can be a command sergeant major, which is a troop position. So if they need a position in the unit where they need you to manage these troops as the senior enlisted person, they are going to do what's called a pinning or a frocking in the officer side of the world.
Right.
And they're going to pin that rank on you. However, it's a conditional promotion because even if you're number 30, you still have to complete the Sergeant's Major Academy. So he received a conditional promotion. He never got paid as an E9.
So as I understand what you're saying, and this is clarifying, Jennifer. This is a big deal because you see a lot of this coverage, and I know for a fact that so much of the civilian journalism on this is ignorant of how it actually works.
Right.
What you're talking about is so as you understand it, he was actually pinned on but not paid because he still had failed to achieve the requirements for the rank.
Yes, and I say that with the caveat of if he made his number and then he actually got promoted and started getting paid but didn't finish the Sergeant's Major Academy, then that would be considered a demotion. But I think in the National Guard, much like the reserves, you get pinned and you have 1 year to finish, to get signed up for and finish the Sergeant's Major Academy. And if you don't do it, then you are not promoted.
So when you hear him claim, Jennifer, that he is a retired command sergeant major, is this just a minor sort of blurring of the lines, or is this an intentional act of dishonesty?
It's intentional. He pinned on the rank because they had a need in his unit for the command sergeant major position, and some of your other callers were 100% correct when they say you get told you're going to go downrange. And he retired before he went downrange because he didn't want to go downrange, and that's just the bottom line. And that's the choice that he made. However, and I can understand why the people in his unit felt like he abandoned them, and that's the choice that he made. He got out while he could. It's not as bad as being a conscientious objector and fleeing to Canada. However, it's not good either. But he was wearing the rank in the unit because they needed that E9 position filled. And their intent was that E9 was going to go downrange with his troops and lead his troops on that deployment. And he didn't. And that's a terrible thing. So for him now to say that he was a command sergeant major is a lie.
Finally,
he
Jennifer,
never actually got paid for it or completed the Sergeant's Major Academy.
Finally, Jennifer, I mean, you've got this unique perspective that's really helpful for this conversation, having lived it.
I spent 28 years.
Having lived it, yeah, exactly. So if the senior NCO decides to up and quit just ahead of the deployment, what message does the rest of the unit receive?
He failed his unit. He failed his troops, and he disgraced his rank that he held at the time.
Sure seems like it. Jennifer.
You don't do that. None of us wanted to get deployed. None of us wanted to go downrange.
Yeah. Jennifer, thank you.
And I just want to bring up one thing real quick.
Please.
I was in Iraq when Beau Biden was in Iraq, and he did not see combat. He was in the palace at Alpha Palace as a lawyer, and for his service to be called, he saw combat. He was in the combat zone, like many people were, but unless you went off the forward operating base and you saw gunfire, you were not a combat veteran either. But they say they are because they get that little stripe on their sleeve because they did 6 months or more downrange. So there's a whole lot of people in the country saying they did things they didn't do.
And one of them's running for vice president right now. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Jennifer, thank you. I appreciate
the
the call and your
Thanks for taking
service.
my call.
Very appreciative of that. Let us see here. I've got Joe calling in from Woodbridge now, line 1. Joe, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Oh, Vince, great show as usual.
Thank you
for taking my call.
Sure.
So I was just thinking that President Donald J. Trump, Commander-in-Chief of all of our military for 4 years, has more combat experience than that phony, weird Walz guy. Because Donald Trump came under fire. He took a bullet for us and for me, as far as I'm concerned, and he got up and faced the enemy, which most people would not be able to do. He's in the 1/1000th percentile as far as I'm concerned. Donald J. Trump has more combat experience than that phony.
As he said himself, he took a bullet for democracy that day, and I've got more information about that assassination attempt coming up. What a great comparison. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the call. Let me go to Fred in Fairfax, line 5. Fred, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi, Vince. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the only comment I had was that, the discussions around this guy's military record, it really doesn't make any difference at all, unfortunately. Even for people in the military who vote Democrat, this will have no impact. If they vote Democrat and they're leftists, it doesn't matter what he did or what he didn't do, what he lied about, what he didn't lie about. Stolen valor is perfectly fine. If they are Democrats and they vote leftist, they'll vote for him. It doesn't. I don't think it makes a trickle of difference at all, and I think very little will. Even amongst undecided people, I think most people haven't been in the military. Of course, they don't understand these things, and for them, it's just a question of like their checkbook and how much money they're spending on everything.
I think you're right about so many Democrat voters, unfortunately, but we're in the general election now. This is not the primary. When you have elections that are decided by just 10,000 votes or just a couple tens of thousands of votes, everything matters. Every little thing. And here's a big one. This guy is a big, fat liar. And if it creates energy on the right to stop him from getting into office in the broad American middle, good. That's an important thing. And people should know about his lack of integrity. And boy, is it out there right now. I appreciate the call. Hang on, I've got more details about the events of July 13th coming up. Local cops, their body camera audio now coming out, and it does not look good for the Secret Service. Well, good afternoon to you. It is now 5:35 News Talk, 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. You can join us today at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. I want to get to some of President Trump's press conference coming up. He had over an hour today at Maralago where he was just answering a freewheeling Q&A with the press, something that Kamala Harris has refused to do for the entirety of her very short presidential campaign, the one in which no voters voted for her. She was merely coronated by the power centers of the left to be the nominee after they grew sick and tired of Joe Biden putting him on a losing track for this election. So I've got some of that audio from President Trump coming up. But before I get there, I do want to share with you some new information coming out of the Wall Street Journal today, who have obtained videos, audio from the police, the local cops who were there on J13, attempting to protect Donald Trump while he was speaking in Butler, Pennsylvania. And the Wall Street Journal says that the local cops were very frustrated with the Secret Service for the security failure and were immediately blaming them in light of the fact that the local cops had said, hey, look, this is an obvious position that needs to be protected, and if it's not, it could create some problems. Here's what the Wall Street Journal says. Local Pennsylvania police complained in the moments after last month's attempted assassination of Donald Trump that they warned the U.S. Secret Service days in advance that the warehouse where the shooter was positioned needed protection, according to brand new videos obtained by the Wall Street Journal. And here's the audio. I'm just going to play it for you. This is it's censored, a couple of curse words. Obviously, they're very angry about what just went down. This is a Butler Township police officer. This is audio captured on his body-worn camera right after the shooting. As he was complaining to his colleagues, I told the Secret Service they needed to post guys over there. Take a listen.
I told them they need to post the guys f***ing over here. I told him that the Secret Service. I told him that f***ing Tuesday. I told him to post f***ing guys over here.
Yeah, so here he is over and over and over. I said they needed to have somebody there. I told them on Tuesday. Now, remember, this was a Saturday shooting. That's well in advance. And the Wall Street Journal goes on to describe how they responded. He said, I talked to the Secret Service guys, and they're like, yeah, no problem. We're going to post guys over here. The Journal says the footage paints a more complete picture of the anger and frustration moments after Thomas Matthew Crooks was able to fire 8 shots at the former president from an AR-style assault rifle. A spectator was killed, 2 others were injured, and Trump suffered a bullet wound to the ear. The Journal obtained the videos under a public records request Thursday. Yeah, it took long enough. Where was all this audio in the immediate aftermath? It's not that hard to get this stuff out. Everybody's dragging their feet, refusing to release information. A police officer in one of the videos at one point refers to a suspicious individual who had been lost by authorities. The unidentified officer referred to, quote, a gentleman with a flat face that we were looking for earlier. He was creeping people out, end quote. The officer's account, broadcast over radio, was captured on one of the body cameras. Quote, he was watching people out in the woods by the water tower. I'm not sure he is the gentleman down or not, end quote. About 10 minutes after the shooting, another officer arriving at the warehouse said to a fellow officer, I thought you guys were on the roof. I thought it was you. No, came the reply, with an explanation that no officers were on the roof. What the F? The officer replied in frustration. Why were we not on the roof? Why weren't we? End quote. Federal law enforcement officials have said the Secret Service believed that the snipers from the Butler County Emergency Services Unit were supposed to secure the roof of the building where Crooks fired his rifle. However, the local law enforcement official involved in the event planning previously said that the tactical team's heads told the Secret Service during the walkthrough that its snipers would be inside the building on its second floor. Butler's team didn't want the snipers on the roof because they would have been exposed to temperatures over 90 degrees throughout the day, the official said. Also, the sloped roof would have obscured some of the snipers' vantage points, he said. On the day of the rally, the Secret Service has limited interaction with local police, including the Butler County Emergency Services Unit, the official said. Butler Township Police Lieutenant Matthew Pearson on Thursday declined to release the names of the officers behind the body cameras, citing a continuing investigation that they are a part of. Quote, Butler Township Police are cooperating with an internal Secret Service investigation, so we cannot comment at this time, said Pearson. The Secret Service didn't immediately respond to an inquiry seeking comment. So there you go. That's the update. That's the first time we've heard that audio in the drip of information about the cascading series of failures involved in allowing a Secret Service protectee to be shot in the head, allowing Corey Comparator to be shot dead, and 2 others to be wounded at that fateful Butler, Pennsylvania rally. And here you have the local cops. There's no time to really process things. Just saying immediately, I told them to secure that building. And they said, yeah, we got it. They definitely didn't. They definitely did not. Let me get to President Trump now, the man who almost was killed at that rally. He held a press conference today, and I want to play some of the audio. Here he is talking about his opponent, Kamala Harris, and how she was just merely appointed to this role as the Democrat nominee.
We have somebody that hasn't received 1 vote for president, and she's running, and that's fine with me. But we were given Joe Biden, and now we're given somebody else. And I think, frankly, I'd rather be running against somebody else. But that was their choice. They decided to do that because Kamala's record is horrible. She's a radical left person at a level that nobody's seen. She picked a radical left man that is, he's got things done that he has positions that are just not, it's not even possible to believe that they exist.
Yeah.
He's
up and down the board. Pick literally any policy area, and Tim Walz is going to have the worst possible take on it.
For things that nobody's ever even heard of. Heavy into the transgender world, heavy into lots of different worlds having to do with safety. He doesn't want to have borders. He doesn't want to have walls.
Right.
He doesn't want to have any form of safety for our country.
Sanctuary guy who wants to give driver's license to illegals, wants to make sanctuary cities and states out of our whole country, gives away school benefits, health benefits to illegal foreign nationals who break into our country.
He doesn't mind people coming in from prisons, and neither does she, I guess, because she couldn't care less. She's the border czar. By the way, she was the border czar 100%. And all of a sudden, for the last few weeks, she's not the border czar anymore, like nobody ever said it.
Yeah, of course. And that yet another lie that the media have been complicit in. Oh, border czar? Border czar? That never happened. In fact, Trump says that she was the worst border czar we've ever had.
But as a border czar, she's been the worst border czar in history, in the world history. I think the number is 20 million, but whether it's 15
in the world history. I'm sorry, I missed that. It wasn't just in American history.
20, it's numbers that nobody's ever heard before. 20 million people came over the border during the Biden-Harris administration. 20 million people, and it could be very much higher than that. Nobody really knows what the number is. Nobody knows. Nobody has a clue.
President Trump just used a phrase I think is interesting. Obviously, Republicans are emphasizing appropriately that this is the Biden-Harris administration because they want Harris to have to own all of the vile outcomes of that administration. But remember, when this administration started, remember the media fanfare around that phrasing? You remember this? Because right as the administration started, they're like, oh, look how forward-thinking and progressive Joe Biden is. He's not even calling it the Biden administration. They're calling it the Biden-Harris administration. This was an unusual thing to do. Normally, you just refer to the president, and it's his administration, the Biden administration. But in the very early days of Joe Biden's time as president, the media and the White House were crowing that this is the Biden-Harris administration. Isn't that fascinating? So now we're in a point where we're in a campaign. This is not a Republican invention that Harris owns this. This is Kamala Harris's invention. Biden and Harris came up with this, and now they have to live with it.
And the gotaways, they call them the gotaways. The gotaways are at numbers. Somebody was quizzing me on it the other day. No, I don't think so, sir. I don't think so. They have no idea what those numbers are, but they're much higher than you would think.
Yeah, much higher than you would think. I'll push ahead here to some of the other remarks. Trump was referring to Biden. President Trump was talking about President Biden, saying that he's regretting this decision to accept the pressure he received and get tossed out of the race now.
You would have thought they would have gone out to a vote. They would have had a primary system. They would have done something, but to just take it away from him like he was a child. And he's a very angry man right now.
He was a child.
I can tell you that. He's not happy with Obama, and he's not happy with Nancy Pelosi, crazy Nancy. She is crazy, too.
Yeah.
She's not happy with any of the people that told him that you've got to leave. He's very unhappy, very angry, and I think he also blames her. He's trying to put up a good face, but it's a very bad thing.
Yeah, it is a bad thing. Actually, let me take a detour here for just a moment on this particular topic. Nancy Pelosi did an interview with a fellow called David Remnick with The New Yorker, and is becoming a little bit more frank about the role that she played in forcing Joe Biden out of the race. Listen to this. Here's Nancy Pelosi with David Remnick talking a bit about, let's see, this first clip is about how bad Joe Biden's debate performance was.
My goal is he will never step foot in the White House again. Winning an election is a decision. You make a decision to win, and then you make every decision in favor of winning. All I wanted was a better campaign, because I did not see a campaign that would beat him.
Yeah, screw the Democrat voters. I just want somebody else to be running.
Misrepresentation. The people think the economy's better under him. So
that's
that
true.
night, I was startled because I had never seen that. And people say, you
Liar.
must have seen it. No, I never saw that.
Liar.
In other words, you'd never seen Joe Biden come up short like that.
Never.
Liar.
No, in fact, earlier in the day when I was with the members, they were like, oh, how's it going to be? Trump will be so awful. Yeah. I said, don't worry about it.
What was that
Joe
sound?
Biden's State of the Union is going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be great. He had it down. He was going to do it. He felt great.
Wait, am I understanding her correctly? She's saying that she had fellow members who were all panicking about Joe Biden, and she said to them, don't worry, it's going to be the State of the Union version. Why would those members be panicking if no one had ever seen this before? What is she saying?
Never. No, in fact, earlier in the day when I was with the members, they were like, oh, how's it going to be? Trump will be so awful. I said, don't worry about it. Joe Biden's State of the Union is going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be great. He had it down. He was going to do it. He felt great. And I had confidence in him. I didn't think it wouldn't be good. But anyway, and then that happened.
Anyway.
And I think everybody was stunned.
Mm-hmm.
It was stunning.
It was. I wasn't stunned. Were you stunned, Corey? Corey wasn't stunned. Were you stunned sitting in your car as you're driving home? No, you weren't stunned either. No, I wasn't stunned. I wasn't stunned at all. Pelosi claims she was stunned. You know, she has more access to Joe Biden than any of us. She was stunned that he was non-compos mentis. Here she is going further and saying, it was time. It was time for Joe Biden to go.
You were talking to one person.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking to Joe Biden in a certain kind of language.
When she went on Morning Joe, this is what Remnick's referring to. She went on Morning Joe and she said, you know, he needs to think about maybe possibly getting out of the race.
You describe that language. It was almost the way a mother or a father who is particularly good at being a parent tells a child who's already made a bad decision, I'm waiting for you to make a decision of a different sort. You're looking at me and waiting for this moment to pass.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of why you're even asking it, because you know I'm not going to answer it in the way that you want. I didn't plan to do that on the show.
You should know better. I'm not going to tell you the truth.
In fact, if I did, I probably would have worn a different suit or something because I didn't look too professional. But seriously,
great joke.
just a little
But
background.
it was like
I've
you felt
never
his
been
pain.
that impressed with his political operation.
Oh, here it comes.
Biden's operation.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I just haven't been. They won the White House. Bravo. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So my concern was, this ain't happening. And we have to make a decision.
This ain't happening.
For this to happen. And the president has to make the decision for that to happen.
No, did you hear what she said? We need to make a decision. Nancy Pelosi, who holds no leadership role in the entire United States government, she is a single member of Congress. We have to make a decision about whether Joe Biden stays in this role.
So people were calling. I never called one person. I kept true to my word. Any conversation I had with it was just going to be with him.
Mm-hmm.
I never made one call to. They said I was burning up the lines. I was talking to Chuck. I didn't talk to Chuck at all.
Yeah, right.
Chuck Schumer.
Chuck at all.
Chuck
I
and
didn't talk
Nancy.
at all. I never called one person, but people were calling me saying that there was a challenge there. So there have to be a change in.
I never called one person. I just kept getting calls from all of these people, and then we talked.
The leadership of the campaign, or what would come next. Let me just say, I won't say necessarily I knew what I was doing at that time. I knew what I was doing in the whole thing, not just that show.
And what was that?
That Donald Trump would never set foot in the White House again.
That's a long way of saying that I took a hook, I threw it around Joe Biden, and I yanked him out of the race. It's Nancy Pelosi, who it's so typical, by the way. It's just she wants credit for ejecting Joe, but she doesn't want anybody to say it explicitly. Isn't that the weirdest? That's Nancy. You know, President Trump came out. He did an over an hour press conference today. He got so far into the press conference, he started answering questions about Willie Brown. He said, Willie Brown told me terrible things about Kamala Harris. That's hilarious. I love that. So in the process, it looks like Trump has actually smoked Kamala Harris out of her hidey hole because she went over to some reporters today and answered like a handful of questions. Here's one of them.
Madam Vice President, Donald Trump agreed to 3 debates. Will you be participating in all 3?
I've always been on record. I am looking forward to debating Donald Trump, and we have a date of September 10th. I hear he is finally committed to it. I'm looking forward.
What about the other 2?
Let's make sure we get this photo.
Oh, they're refusing the answer. She's committing to 1 debate, not necessarily 3. We'll see if President Trump makes that a condition. Now, you got to do all 3. You want to debate with me? We need to give the American people a real show. You got to do all 3. Right now, they're saying, we'll just do 1. We'll just do 1 with George Slopadopoulous. She also tried to answer some questions from front of the press, refusing to even address the stolen valor of her running mate, Tim Walz. She just didn't answer it at all. And then she's now saying she might do an interview before the end of the month. What a pathetic campaign. The basement campaign continues. And the great one is up next here on WMAL.